The reason why we want to develop our resources and get them to market is to do exactly what you're saying, is to address the healthcare, the education, and the vulnerable sector. I just want to put it out there. If we had built Northern Gateway, which was approved and cancelled by Trudeau, if we'd built Energy East, which was advanced, but then pulled the plug because they couldn't see their way through to getting approval, if we'd built Keystone XL, if the federal government had advocated for 1 minute on our behalf to keep that pipeline going, we would have had an additional 2.5 million barrels per day of production today, which would be generating about $55 billion per year in additional GDP, of which governments would be getting about 40% of that. You can build a lot of schools and hospitals and roads with that kind of...
Did Alberta just declare independence from Ottawa without saying it out loud? That's the question shaking Canada right now. Because while most of the country was distracted by endless debates in Ottawa, Alberta quietly signed a deal that changes everything. A deal worth $12 billion, moving 1 million barrels of oil every single day directly to the United States. And the most shocking part? Ottawa didn't approve it, wasn't consulted, and can't stop it. This isn't just a story about oil. This is about Alberta ripping up the rulebook, bypassing federal control, and showing the rest of Canada that the future may not be decided in Ottawa at all. Let's start with what just happened. Alberta struck a massive deal with the United States, a pipeline agreement worth $12 billion. It locks in the transport of 1 million barrels of oil per day. That's not a minor contract. That's a quarter of Alberta's daily output, enough to rival entire nations in production capacity. And here's where things get interesting. Ottawa didn't give its approval. It didn't even get a say. Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith made it clear. The province is tired of waiting for Ottawa's permission. They cut the cord, signed the papers, and told the federal government, "We're shaping our future with or without you." For Ottawa, this is a nightmare scenario. For Alberta, it's freedom. But to really understand why this deal matters so much, we need to look back at the years of frustration that pushed Alberta to this point. For decades, Alberta's biggest challenge hasn't been the market. It's been Ottawa. Time and again, major energy projects that could have transformed the Canadian economy were left to rot under layers of federal bureaucracy. Remember Keystone XL, Northern Gateway, Energy East? These were supposed to be game changers. Instead, they were stalled, blocked, or abandoned after years of so-called consultations and endless reviews. Billions of dollars in potential revenue evaporated. Thousands of jobs were lost before they were even created. And here's the number that really makes Alberta furious. In just the last decade, the province lost more than $250 billion in fiscal transfers to Ottawa. Money that left Alberta's economy and was redistributed across the country, while Alberta's own projects sat in limbo. Think about that. A province contributing billions every year to keep Canada's economy afloat, only to be told over and over that its biggest ambitions weren't allowed to move forward. This new U.S. pipeline deal is Alberta's response. It's not a request. It's not a proposal. It's a declaration. We're done waiting. To grasp Alberta's leverage, you need to see the numbers. Alberta produces 4.2 million barrels of oil every single day. That's 1.5 billion barrels per year. To put it in perspective, that's more than many OPEC countries. Yes, Alberta alone is producing at a level that competes with entire oil-producing nations. And it's not just oil. Alberta's energy sector contributes more than $70 billion to Canada's GDP annually. That's not small change. That's the money fueling healthcare systems, infrastructure projects, and federal programs across the entire country. Now add this new pipeline deal into the equation. Another $12 billion locked in. 15,000 construction jobs created almost overnight. Alberta isn't just another Canadian province at this point. It's an economic engine driving the country forward. Except now it's making moves to drive itself, on its own terms. Some call Alberta Canada's Texas, and not just because of the cowboy hats and oil rigs. It's because Alberta embodies the same mix of independence, wealth, and raw resource power that can't be ignored. But this deal isn't only about proving Alberta's dominance in energy. It's also about reshaping the future: trade, independence, and power. Here's where things take an unexpected turn. This pipeline agreement isn't just about moving crude oil. Built into the deal are tariff exemptions. Alberta's oil, gas, and even agricultural products are set to move south without the penalties and restrictions that have slowed down other sectors. That's a big deal, because while Ottawa negotiates trade rules, Alberta just bypassed them. The province is no longer waiting for federal agreements or hoping for trade breakthroughs. It's cutting its own deals, creating its own rules, and carving out its own economic future. For Ottawa, this is terrifying. If Alberta can negotiate directly with the U.S. on energy and trade, what role does the federal government even play anymore? This is why observers are calling it more than a pipeline. It's a declaration of independence in disguise. Alberta isn't just a resource supplier anymore. It's positioning itself as a global economic powerhouse. And the province is thinking way bigger than just one pipeline. Alberta isn't building for today. It's planning for tomorrow, and the next 50 years. The province is laying out a network of export routes that could completely reshape the global energy map. First up, Prince Rupert, a port on the British Columbia coast. This isn't just a shipping stop. It's Alberta's gateway to Asia. Oil from Alberta could be exported faster, cheaper, and more efficiently than ever before, directly into some of the world's fastest-growing markets. Next, Churchill, Manitoba. At first glance, it looks like a remote Arctic port, but Churchill is a strategic gem, a deep-water facility that offers direct access to Europe and Asia without the choke points of the Panama or Suez canals. For Alberta, that means fewer delays, lower costs, and more control over global distribution. And then there's Kamloops, positioned with infrastructure ready for LNG shipping. This ensures Alberta isn't locked into a single path. If one route gets blocked, there's always another ready to go. All of this feeds into Alberta's vision of a port-to-port corridor, a supply chain that stretches from the Pacific to the Arctic, connecting Alberta to the world on its own terms. This isn't just infrastructure. It's a roadmap for independence. But there's another twist in the story. Alberta isn't just pushing oil. It's reshaping how the world sees its energy. For years, critics have slammed Alberta as an environmental laggard, accusing it of ignoring climate concerns in pursuit of profit. But here's the surprise. Alberta is now flipping that narrative. The province is investing heavily in technological safeguards. High-pressure shutoff systems, advanced leak detection, and restoration funds are being built into the new projects. These aren't token gestures. They're designed to minimize real risks and prove that energy development can be cleaner and smarter. And Alberta isn't stopping there. The province has set an ambitious target: net zero oil sands emissions by 2050. To make that happen, it's pouring money into carbon capture, air capture, and other breakthrough technologies. While some critics call it too little, too late, Alberta is positioning itself as a global leader in clean oil. It's rewriting the story, showing that oil production and environmental responsibility don't have to be enemies. And in doing so, Alberta is setting standards that go far beyond what Ottawa has demanded. But perhaps the most revolutionary move isn't about oil or climate at all. It's about who gets to share in the wealth. One of the most overlooked but groundbreaking parts of Alberta's new strategy is how it's involving Indigenous communities. In the past, Indigenous groups were offered little more than short-term jobs when big projects rolled through their land. But Alberta is changing that playbook completely. This time, Indigenous partners are getting real equity, up to $3 billion worth. That means ownership stakes, voting rights, and board seats. They're not just participants, they're decision-makers. This approach gives Indigenous communities long-term benefits, not just temporary contracts. It also ensures projects are built on genuine partnership, rather than one-sided agreements. It's a model that could redefine how resource projects are done across the country. And it's one more step in Alberta's mission to prove it can lead without Ottawa. So let's step back and look at what all this means. Alberta has just signed a $12 billion deal that Ottawa didn't approve, can't stop, and doesn't control. It's building international trade routes that bypass federal oversight. It's investing in environmental innovation that outpaces national standards. And it's forging Indigenous partnerships that give real power to communities, not just token jobs. All of this points to one conclusion. Alberta is carving out independence, piece by piece. The question is, where does it end? If Alberta can bypass Ottawa on pipelines today, what's stopping it from bypassing Ottawa completely tomorrow? For Canada, that's a chilling thought. For Alberta, it's a dream taking shape. So now I'll leave it to you. Is Alberta's new pipeline deal the first real step toward economic sovereignty, or even independence? And if Ottawa can't control the flow of oil, does it really control the future of Canada at all? Let me know what you think in the comments below.